Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with Learn Plan Profit. I hope that you guys are all having a good start to your morning. Today we are hosting a free live trading session so you guys can get an inside look what our LPP team experiences every morning. We do have an economic report that's going to be the Chicago PMI. I'm going to be sharing my screen in just a few minutes. Going to be inviting the LPP team right now. Let's go live. Sit back, relax. The session should be about 30 to 45 minutes. And again, this is just a raw live session. I host these private streams on YouTube normally, so this one's public. Let me go ahead and share this with them just to make sure people can start tuning on in. All right. Perfect. We are good to go. Let's make it happen. Okay. What's up? What's up? Good morning. Good morning. You guys should be able to partake in that little live chat that you see on the right-hand side if you're on desktop, or right below the video. You should be able to see the live chat where you can ask me any questions. You can type it out. You can ask me any questions while you're watching me trade live. So market just opened. It's 7:30 a.m. here in Arizona, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Or if you're in Hawaii, what is it? It's like something crazy, like 4:30 a.m., something like that. So, all right. Let's see what we got going on today. We got NASDAQ market as of right now pretty much trading sideways, beginning to show signs of a support and maybe a potential reversal. One thing that I want to remind you is right now market sentiment is market's been extremely bullish. So, it wouldn't really surprise me if market tries to find any reason on why to go up today. But we did pull back a little bit yesterday, so we'll have to wait and see, right? And that's one thing that I think a lot of people get confused is they think right when the market opens that you should automatically know what you are doing. Again, this is just the way that I like to approach it, but often I find myself that it benefits me if I stay patient and I give the market the time that it needs to paint its picture for the day. That's kind of an analogy that we like to use with our LPP team. And it's just making beginners aware that they don't have to make impulsive trade decisions, wasting day trades, opening yourself to risk when we still don't know. We still don't know if the NASDAQ market is going to go up, if the NASDAQ market's going to go down. What if it's a choppy day and market's just going to trade sideways? Are those really the conditions that you want to open yourself to? At least not me, right? All right. Okay. So we are testing the moving average here. Let's see if we get the break above. Looks like we are. What else do we have going on here? We have SQQQ, which is the inverse ETF. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. We have Tesla that is seeing some selling pressure. So we'll see if this continues. I love this. As of right now, more selling pressure is following even after yesterday's sell-off. So for those that are not aware, I am using the Webull trading application. It is free and available to anyone in the US and some other countries as well. If you want to see if it's available in your country, again, it's the 5th link in the description down below. You don't have to use the same trading platform that I use, but if you're tired of your old and outdated brokerage and you want to try something new, they do have a sign-up bonus going on, so something to explore. We have AMD here. Looks like we had a really nice rip up, now pulling on back. As you can see, What does that show you? So let me ask you this. So again, you guys can partake in that live chat. It should be either on the right hand side if you're on desktop or right below the video if you're on mobile. So what does this tell you about the market right now? If we ripped up and then we're pulling on back, what is this telling us about the market? What might we want to do that might be in our best interest? So it could be weakness in the market. It could be, lack of direction. It could be algos are controlling. I don't really like to talk much about that necessarily. So very, very simple. Let's keep it super simple, right? There's no clear direction right now. We don't know if we're going to go up. We don't know if we're going to go down. So what do we do? It's this crazy concept that I discovered, and it's called patience, right? And I'm obviously totally joking in the sense that it's not a crazy new concept. It's literally just that. You need to give the market time for things to be a little bit more clear. So you're going to see everyone talking about wait, and again, they can share their own experience, not even mine. They can share their own experience of how many times, let me see a show of hands in the live chat. How many times have you made the mistake of jumping into the market way too early? And then you end up instantly regretting it, right? And it's a very unfortunate feeling, but it's a simple step that we could have taken. Yep. All right, let's continue to go down the list. And again, if that's something that you've experienced before, let them know in the live chat just to encourage them to be patient, right? We're not encouraging you to take a trade or to force yourself into a position that you don't end up wanting to. That would be complete opposite, right? It's more of, we want you to do well. And we understand that it's going to take time, and we want you to embrace that. What about swing traders? Anything. It doesn't matter if you're a swing trader, a day trader, an investor, a scalper. The idea is staying patient, right? Staying patient for an opportunity to present itself. Investing might be a little bit different because it's not necessarily so much about timing, not always, but you know when to step on the gas maybe a little bit more during oversold levels. But it's more about dollar cost averaging, right? If that's the approach that you want to choose to take, that's a little bit more casual, a little bit more relaxed, stuff like that, right? So really nice pullback down here. Now NASDAQ is back into the red. So one thing that we're noticing is, again, we got rejected here. We're pulling on back. We're right back at previous support level. So you might be like, okay, well, this looks like it's selling off now, Ricky, right? Yes, but during the pre-market session, which is, again, before the market opens, it's just... we explain it in the LPP lesson library. It's pretty much just a time slot where the market's not necessarily open, but you can still trade. There's just less trading activity, right? It's kind of just like extended hours. There's no extra price that you pay or anything like that. Or extra fees. It's just lower volatility. Where were we? So we talked about NVIDIA with the pullback. It looks like it's testing the support at the EMA. We have Google here. Again, not super clear on what we're doing here. Microsoft looks a little bit more like an active sell-off, but we're testing support. Have you ever noticed that when the market is red, that Tesla does the opposite? No, because I've seen many times where the market's green and so is Tesla. Right now, Tesla's just going through a rut, I would like to say. And it's just been the past 2 days. I mean, no one was complaining when Tesla was showing signs of higher highs and higher lows, right? But now all of a sudden it's a big issue because Tesla's pulling on back and maybe the rest of the market isn't following as closely, which again, it doesn't need to. Markets were overbought. They were due for a pullback. Now we're testing that moving average, and we'll have to wait and see if it goes according to plan. Are you trading today, Ricky? I want to. I'm going to be waiting for a nice... I like these dramatic moves because it leaves margin for potential profit if it ends up reversing, right? So like Tesla, if it ends up recovering, for those that don't know, well, how do traders make money? Well, we saw that Tesla just sold off. Let's say that you're waiting for Tesla to recover. So we call it the 3 stages of a reversal. There's the rejection when it's an active sell-off. There's the consolidation when it begins to establish a support. And then there's the confirmation. That's when it, begins to actively indicate signs of an uptrend. So if we look at from overall lows to overall highs, this would be about a 1.41% ROI. So not bad, but again, we all see value in different ways. Some people might go for that trade. Some people won't even touch it because it's not maybe enough. All right, Microsoft, we got Meta in the red, looking a little bit more on the bearish side, but very oversold. So again, potential recovery. We'll just have to wait and see if we continue to sell off or if we actually begin to recover. We got Amazon showing a little bit more signs of a support. We have Apple stock here. Apple, for those that are not familiar with it, Apple is a huge company. $3 trillion market cap. That's not with a B, it's with a T. It's one of the most valuable companies that's publicly traded. And often, not always, but often, the way that Apple moves might influence other markets, right? So like if Apple all of a sudden reports that it's, again, this is a very dramatic example, but if Apple all of a sudden announces that, oh, it's filing for bankruptcy, I'm not saying that it is, obviously it's far from that, but let's say that it was. If it files for bankruptcy based off of its market cap, and if it actively begins to sell off, because obviously that's bad news, it will drag the NASDAQ market, the S&P 500 down with it. And that's because its influence that it has to these overall 3 major indexes, and probably a lot more than that, will bring down, and you could see this, right? Apple's beginning to sell off, and so is the NASDAQ market. It's never perfect, it's never exact. Sometimes they work a little bit closer to one another, but then there's also times that I see the NASDAQ market might be uptrending, but then Apple might be selling off, right? Are you live every day, Ricky? I am live every morning, Monday through Friday when the market's open. So if the market's open, I will be live. I go live with the LPP team. And there's sessions like this. They're anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on if there's a lot of trading activity. Then I stay on a little bit longer. If there's not much activity and markets are very choppy, if they're slow, if there's no reason for me to be trading, then I can close it out at 30 minutes, right? The whole point is to trade when it makes sense, not when you necessarily just want to. Yeah, and again, after this session or even during, I don't know how many coupons of it are left, but I added a $250 off coupon, which is a 50% discount. It's the second link in the description down below. I just thought I'd spice things up. I don't know how active it will be or how many I truly don't. I don't know if there's 5 available. I don't know if there's 10, but I know it is limited. It's not limited based off of time. It's limited based off of how many people use it. So it's the biggest discount that we will ever offer. And at the end, let me make this very clear. When you're learning how to trade, the first thing that you need to understand is to learn how to do something like in the stock market. Do you need money to learn? No, not necessarily. You can paper trade. Do you need to sign up for LPP? No, 100%. You can learn how to do this on your own. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm just explaining to you. The whole point of signing up and having access to these live sessions and having access to the A to Z video lesson library that's designed for beginners, it's to save you time and money. And if you get the $250 off, if you get the $175 off, in the grand scheme of things, the $25, $50 doesn't make that much of a difference. The whole point is, are you going to take it serious? Are you truly going to learn from the mistakes that you make? Because you're going to make them, right? That's not the thing to avoid. The thing to avoid is the same mistake over and over again. We're just here to remind you about the whole point of progress, right? And that's what I really hope for 2024 with all the new people that end up joining us. It's not that you have any expectation to be perfect or to understand this right away, but I can reassure you that if you take it seriously, if you take time to complete the course, and you tune on into these live sessions, that the stock market will make so much more sense than what it does right now, especially if you know nothing about the market and you're starting as a complete beginner. And that's the whole point. So, yep. If you want to tune on in and you want to access, second link in the description down below. If not, I appreciate you even being here, and let's have some fun and try to make some money. One thing that I have noticed, where are my American airline watchers? Have we noticed that American Airlines has been lacking progress? Is it just me, or do you guys agree? Just lacking progress? What do you guys agree? In 1 minute, we have an economic report, just a heads up on that. The economic report is the Chicago PMI, and there's an expectation of 50. So let's see. We have 26 seconds left until it's reported. Yep, it's been so dead for American Airlines. I completely agree with you. Just wanted to get your guys' input. All right, here we go. We got 2 seconds left. And Chicago PMI should be factored in, so we should see maybe a little bit more of a volatile candle. Ricky, check GM might be a good short. I'll check it out right now. Okay. Looks like we're still showing signs of a resistance right around this moving average. So good morning, Ricky. What do you think about Spotify? Let's break it down. What's going on, Colleen? I appreciate you tuning on in. Spotify, super low volume right off the bat. I can see that this is not something that I would personally trade myself. But again, Colleen, I want to remind you, just because I wouldn't trade it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Obviously, there's still money to be made based off of its direction. Just with the dollar amount that I choose to trade with, I see it to be a little bit more of high risk. I also see it to be more on the overbought side. It rallies, becomes overbought, pulls on back. Rallies, becomes overbought, pulls on back. It rallied very strong, became overbought. Now it's pulling on back. It's testing kind of its support right now as it holds above the EMA. If it holds above, that's great. There's no break of pattern there. If it breaks below that, be ready for a pullback down to the moving average. So that's kind of the question to ask yourself. If you choose to enter now and it breaks below EMA, will you actually manage and mitigate your risk? Because of what you think it could potentially yield based off of upside potential. Question to ask yourself, only the question that you can answer. If you're someone that maybe isn't the best at risk management because you're just getting started, then maybe it's not the best trade to take when it's a little bit more on the overbought side and it's still deciding to figure out what to do, right? It's not an active uptrend as of right now based off of its recent pullback, and it's kind of trading sideways. So because of that, I see no reason to rush into it. So how do you control your emotions? Irvin, I'd be lying to you if I say I'm cool, calm, and collected every single time. I've had my really good days. I've had my really bad days. Just like anything, when it comes down to work, you're kind of either in sync with the market or you're not. But one thing that I can reassure you is as you begin to get more comfortable doing something over and over again, you simply get more comfortable being in that position, tolerating that kind of stress or emotion. You're never going to be perfect. It's always going to hit you different from time to time. But if you are constantly opening yourself to that type of stress over time and you learn how to manage it and tolerate it, that's all it really is, right? You learn to manage and tolerate that kind of emotion and that stress to be able to still think a little bit more clearly. One thing that I could 100% say is, again, you let me know what you think in the live chat. One tip is if you are struggling with your emotions, it might be a sign that you're trading with too much money. But you're like, Ricky, I'm only trading with maybe $500 or $1,000. Everyone is at a different stage in their life, financially and experience-wise. So if you see yourself, if you find yourself truly becoming emotional and irrational when things are not going according to plan, size down is the approach that I would take. With enough money that you take it seriously, but not so much that it makes you think irrational or you're miscalculated, right? When it comes down to taking a trade, you have your desired entries, exits, and where you want to potentially cut losses. If you're never cutting losses or you're never taking profits because you're too excited, that's too much money on the line. You need to size down so you take it seriously. Remember, it all comes down to how bad do you want it. Okay. All right, let me check out GM. So GM is looking a little bit more on the overbought side, but it's still looking like it's holding very well, and its trading volume has been pretty good. So the thing with the GM right now is not an active sell-off. It's been holding at this range for quite some time, and anytime something holds this well after being this bullish, it's probably still not the best sign. So again, if I want to short this, I have nothing against shorting it. You know that I have. I would like to wait for confirmation of a sell-off. So just as it was actively pushing up, I want to catch it when it's actively selling off, right? Not so much on the slow days, but on these rip downs. That's where, again, I can be efficient with the trades that I take. I can get in and get out, make my money, control my risk, control my position, get out, make my money, and then walk away. Do you trade the Dow Jones? I really don't focus on the Dow Jones too much. Not that you shouldn't. I really like tech. And I really like NASDAQ, which has a bigger focus on tech. So I see myself often trading TQQQ, SQQQ. But again, being open with you guys, LPP team, the people that are part of our team, they know exactly that the market's been pretty much very slow and been trading sideways for the past week. So it really challenges your patience. That's what it does. And anytime direction is unclear, you just got to be patient. And this is where we talk about staying cash. Staying cash is meaning that you have no open position. You're just waiting for an opportunity to present itself so you can put it into something, right? When you hear us talk about going long or going short, going long means that we're making money when the market goes up. Going short means that we're betting against that given stock, meaning that we make money as it sells off. So just so you kind of understand some of the terminology. So if I go long on NASDAQ, that means I want it to go up. If I go short on NASDAQ, that means I want it to go down. That's getting a little bit more into it. We explain it in more detail in the LPP lesson library. If you end up signing up, you can check out those lessons, and they're all included. Why don't you trade QQQ directly? Great question. TQQQ versus QQQ is triple leverage. So therefore, when NASDAQ moves 1%, TQQQ moves 3%. I like that volatility. I like that increased leverage on that ETF. But just with great opportunity comes great responsibility, because when it loses 1% for QQQ, then TQs loses 3%. So you have to respect it, right? Knowing what side to be on. SQQQ is the inverse. So S, again, short. You can think about it that way. does the opposite. So when NASDAQ market goes up, SQs goes down 3 times whatever the move is, and vice versa. Okay. I like how active this sell-off is right now. So I'm going to be shorting it. So I click on short, waiting for the confirmation. I'm going to size down on this, and I'm just going to enter it there. So I like how bearish it's being right now. It's testing a common support range, so it doesn't mean that it has to break below this, but I'm willing to take the risk. Normally I trade with a much larger dollar amount, but right now I'm choosing to size down, right? So instead of 1,000 shares that I can buy, I'm buying 250, because remember, I'm warming up for the day. I don't have to be super aggressive and go all in on my first trade. So because of that, I size down. I still see potential in this thing selling off even more. And because of that, I want to take advantage of it. But I also need to respect that it could reverse on me very quickly. So that's why I size down. So again, this is shorting coin, meaning that I would be making money as it sells off. Very, very simple. So this is the one that I made a decent chunk of change yesterday, short selling it. So when it sold off pre-market, I was able to make money as this thing sold off. And this was a pretty significant move. It was a 5% sell off, but then it had even more rips down. It had more rip ups, then more rip downs. But again, with these quick changes of direction, you can get caught on the wrong side very quickly, which is, again, it's part of it. You just have to manage that position by managing your risk. So if you're not doing the course before you are trading, you are setting yourself up for failure. Just speaking from that experience here. Just go through the course and save yourself the headache from blowing accounts. I like that, Elizabeth. I appreciate you sharing that with our team. And again, I really think it's very simple. I think it comes down to how bad do you want it. People talk about, and there's some form of sacrifice that has to be given. I'm not saying that you have to do it with the stock market. I'm saying with anything. I think it's a universal concept that if you want to be a successful real estate agent, you must sacrifice. If you want to be a successful trader, you must sacrifice. If you want to be a successful business owner, a successful, doctor, you must sacrifice. And what I mean by that is you're probably not just doing this, but you also have your other commitments just like everyone else. So you're going above and beyond. And this is what it really comes down to. It's how bad do you want it? It's almost, so I used to say, and I've been finding myself kind of thinking a little bit more of what I've said in the past before. And I would always say this phrase of let your passion be what drives you in your success. Because I've always been very passionate about the stock market. But I am very unique in that. I've learned that any successful person doesn't necessarily need to be passionate about the industry that they are choosing to take on, but they need to be obsessive. You need to obsess about it. And it needs to be you and your only thing, right? And the reason I share that with you is I know a lot of people that are successful in specific industries that are not passionate about it, but they obsess about it. And it was something that they started. I mean, think about maybe some job that you have, how maybe that family member that's a little bit wealthier than others started in this like just strange industry. Like, how did he get into that? How did she get into that? But when you're presented an opportunity to potentially change your life and you see that potential, You don't necessarily need to be passionate. It would be great if you enjoy what you do. But if you're obsessive about it, then I think that's what's ultimately most important. That will determine if you're successful or not. Because when you obsess about it, you do things that almost don't even make sense to the average person. The amount of time that you commit to it, the amount of hours, the amount of stress that you tolerate, the, doors you must open and close. So, all right, and we got NASDAQ already showing signs of a resistance. Be careful. Watch out, SQQQ traders. If we break below this, we're going to have a nice little rip down on NASDAQ, which should be pretty giving. So we got GM still looking very overbought, testing previous resistance range. And look at that. We're already at the first 30 minutes of the market. Not bad. I want to see progress. I want to see more progress on the downside. The reason why you might be like, well, Ricky, why don't you add more to it? We just got rejected from this, there's this concept of a lower high. When it tries to go up but doesn't go as high as it did before and then gets rejected and sells off. It tries to go up again, giving people hope, but it gets rejected at a lower price point than it's been rejected before. That's a lower high, right? Because the high that it made is lower than the one before, lower high. And it's also making lower lows, meaning that when it sells off, it tends to rip down. But if you look at previous support levels, we are at that previous support range, right? Patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to. It's just respecting that we are possibly at a support range, which I want to be careful with, because if I'm short selling, that means that I need it to continue to sell off. And if it's not, then there's no reason for me to fuel more money into this trade that's not making me any more money, right? You want to be calculated with what you choose to do. Ricky Ideas, Costco stock. Thank you for all your tips. I just made $1,600 short selling Tesla. What's up, Victor? I love that. Congratulations. So I will break down Costco in just a bit. Just give me some time. I want to see what we're doing here with coin. So I don't mind breaking down stocks if I have the time. But right now I have an active trade and I need to respect the trade by paying attention to it, right? Will we make new lows? It looks like it's testing. Do you see that? How it's trying to hold at that 184 support range, just like it has in the past before. I would love to see it break below, but just because I want to see it break below doesn't mean that it has to. Testing its support here. And then the support that would follow from there, from its previous 183 to 184, would be this drop down to 180. I would love to catch that within this live session. That would be amazing for you guys to see. My trade's not even heavy right now, so it's not like I would make a ton of money. I would try to step on the gas, adding more to my short if I get that confirmation, but nothing right now. It's testing support. Be cautious. Watch for a potential rip up. I like to play devil's advocate anytime that I'm choosing to take a trade. I always like to make myself aware of that it doesn't have to go according to my plan. I always try to look for how could it go wrong, right? It's better to prepare in advance and to make yourself aware so you can make more informed decisions or more risk-informed decisions. But sometimes with that mentality, I do find myself exiting a position a little bit earlier than I should have. And that's just something that I have to work on. Like I've said, I'm not perfect. Here we go, right back to support. You can see the ticker right here. It's coin. I'm short selling coin, meaning that I'm trying to make money as it sells off. Have you ever exited too late? Of course. Come on, Nima. Yeah, how's Tesla doing right now? Tesla's retesting support. Let's see if it ends up making new lows. It's a pretty solid support here, though. It's bounced here quite a bit, right? We can see that it's bounced here before, it's bounced here before, bounced here before. If it breaks below this, then that would be a little bit more concerning if you are, invested in Tesla. It's not the end of the world. It's just a little bit more of a larger pullback. What are you eating? Eating a banana and drinking some water. But thank you. Can you talk a little bit more about confirmation on when taking a trade? So yeah, in a perfect world, it's when it's actively performing or actively moving. So kind of like right now, at a short, right? I did 500. So I will close the short if we break above that EMA and getting confirmation that it's actively recovering. So I would almost be cutting losses on this short position when someone would be entering to go long on this position. Does that make sense? Because remember, I'm shorting it. So it's almost like if it was reversed or upside down, that would be like a traditional trade. But the whole idea is like, well, when do I have confirmation to exit? Is kind of what I'm looking for right now because I've already entered, right? The confirmation to have entered this trade is, well, during the active sell-off. And I ended up entering a little bit later, but it got rejected here, sold, and then off of that EMA, showed signs of resistance, and then sold off. That was very easy to see. Got rejected here, sold off. So now we're testing again. Is it going to get rejected at that EMA? It doesn't have to. If we break above that EMA and begins to show signs of progress, I'm going to keep it simple and then just buy to cover. So when I'm shorting, it's negative shares. So you buy to cover, and again, that's all explained in the LPP lesson library. It might sound confusing. I almost don't even want to be shorting in front of a bunch of beginners because I don't want that to be the way that you start. Short selling comes at a different risk tolerance and with more experience, in my opinion. But this is just what I saw being set up right now. So I wanted you guys to be able to see it. I like that it's already showing signs of resistance. It looks like a lower high. So I'm going to choose to take the risk, another 250 shares. Short selling, which is about $46,000. So just getting ready to buy to cover. There it goes, active sell-off, essentially what I wanted it, right? Just like what it did in the past before, right? Patterns tend to repeat themselves. They do not always have to. This trade might go according to plan. The next two might not, and that's okay, right? Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is just when things aren't going according to plan, that you manage and mitigate that risk. Watch for the support here. You're staying on Webull moving forward. Yep, I personally really like Webull. It's all preference. I like how often they are improving and updating the platform. It's more than I've seen on any other trading platform that's actually registered and established in the United States. As in, like, it follows all rules and regulations. And I love the way that it looks. I love how simple it is. I love how advanced it can be with all the new softwares and applications and tools and resources that they make available. Again, you don't have to use my link, but if you've been thinking about using a new platform or you don't even have one, if you use the 5th link in the description down below and deposit $5 when you initially sign up, by using my link, you'll earn up to 12 free shares with that initial deposit. So 12 free shares. And if you end up not liking it, you still get to keep those 12 free shares. You can just close your account. It doesn't cost you anything. All right, we're coming right back down to its previous support range, right around 184.30. I want to get that rip down. I want to break below 183.50. That would be an amazing capture for this live session. I want to be excited. I want you guys to be excited, and it looks like we might be getting it. Let's see. Okay, nice rip down, nice rip down. It's already bouncing. Already back to 180. Oh, here it goes. Test again, test again. Buy to cover. Quick. Just didn't want to overcomplicate. It's my first trade. I can always jump back in if it more actively begins to sell off. I know that might have been anticlimactic because I didn't really let it rip. I can re-enter. I just wanted to play it safe. Look at that. 180, and it was right at the 185. Did I sell too early? Wow. The only regret I have is not buying more, not shorting more. But I'm glad we caught that. I'm glad we caught that within this live. Look at that. Wow. Holy smokes. Oh, boy. All right, gonna try to stay patient. Let's see if it rips up. We got this. It's okay. Let's let it rip up. Closed 50% now. Okay, I wanted to see if it did like a dead cat bounce and just tried to recover a little bit so I could re-enter the short, but it looks like the selling pressure is pretty high. I like it though. It played out according to plan. We caught a really nice move. That was a nice one. From highs to low, a 3% sell-off. Not bad. Let's give it the time that it needs. What are your settings on EMA? My length on the EMA is set at 45. It's all explained in the lesson library in LPP. Ricky is rethinking life. No, not at all. You understand I'm shorting it, right? When you said that? So I'm making money as it goes down. I think that's the part that people, if you're a beginner, you're like, oh my God, he must be losing money. No, I was making money as it sells off. And here it goes. Goes back for a sell-off. Oh my goodness. Look at that. I went back for a re-entry. Wow. Another 1,000 shares. Oop. Watch for the quick bounce. And it can get you like that. Beautiful rip down. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, watch for 181. Watch for 181. Holy smokes. I bought to cover. I bought to cover. Holy smokes. Did we freaking call it? Oh my goodness. Even that trade alone. I did 2,000 shares, which is about $360,000. A quick rip down like that, just a few $1,000. Oh my goodness. And we closed it. We already bought to cover. Wow. Just like yesterday, which again, it did not have to play out that way. But when it does, you guys saw how I first started off with a few hundred shares, 200 shares, 200 shares, 250 shares. But then when it was an active sell-off, I went in 1,000 shares, 1,000 shares, 1,000 shares, right? And then bought to cover right away. So this is a great example. A lot of beginners like to ask, Ricky, can I trade off of my phone? Can I trade when I'm at the gym? Or maybe I'm in school? If you're preoccupied, it's a rhetorical question. You could answer this question yourself, right? You can see how every minute matters. Every second matters with a trade. And how quickly, in just a minute or in a few seconds, direction can ultimately change. And this change, especially when done with hundreds of thousands of dollars, because that's the goal, right? You're starting small, but the goal is not to trade like that. The goal is, as you gain more experience and you gain more confidence and you build your good track record, that you begin to trade with more money. So yes, maybe when you're just getting started, you're like, Ricky, why are you taking it so seriously? 1.5% is not that much, especially when you're just trading with 1K. Okay, but if you're always going to have that mentality of trading with 1K, then yeah, you're right. You're never going to get to trading with $100,000, because that mentality that it takes to trade with $100,000 needs to be implemented when you're even just trading with 1,000. Because that's ultimately what the goal is, right? 100,000 or maybe even a million, right? If you have larger aspirations. And 1% of a million, you're talking about $10,000. You're telling me that $10,000 doesn't matter to you? It matters to me, right? Very, very simple. So, like I said, it all comes down to how bad do you want it. So I didn't necessarily want to, and look at this, NASDAQ pretty much trading sideways, so we didn't miss out on much there. Tesla trading sideways. So I'm glad that we captured this sell-off, in the sense that I'm glad that you got to see what trading is like, right? If you're a complete beginner, short selling is not going to be the first thing that you want to jump into. At least it's not what I would recommend. We do cover it in the LPP lesson library, but technically short selling comes at a greater form of risk, because of technically there's no cap on how high a stock can go. So your exposure to risk is much greater. And then there's fees that apply if you carry the position overnight as you're borrowing those shares. Again, we get a little bit more into it in the lesson library, and it's all explained. So I don't even know if the link is still active. I pinned it on the live chat, and it's also the second link in the description down below. Again, my Learn Plan Profit group, if you end up signing up today, what do you get access to? 7 hours of an A to Z video lesson library designed for complete beginners. Let me be straight up with you. If you're experienced and you already know enough about the market, the course is not going to be valuable to you, right? But if you know nothing about the market, it is going to be very, very valuable in the sense of what it covers, what it teaches you, and the do's and the don'ts, right? Everything from setting up your platform, how to buy a stock, to get into the technicals, to get into the thought process, all of that. On top of that, you get access to these daily live trading sessions. So imagine in 2024, waking up when you want to. You can watch these live sessions live just like right now, or we have it provided for you that you can watch it at a later time. So you can watch it live, which of course I would prefer, I'm sure you would prefer, but obviously life gets in the way. You might have a different schedule. So again, you can watch it at any later time. You have access to our private group chat, meaning that if you have questions as you're going through the course, don't hesitate to reach out. And then you have access to our TechBuzz HQ. Just let us know that you're visiting. So if the link is still active and still valid, it should be 50% off. And look at this, we're still selling off on Coin. I'm gonna have to keep you guys up to date on this. Looks spicy. This looks a little bit more bearish than it did yesterday. And this is the second day that it's selling off. So maybe today's retracement can take us down to 175. That would be very, very nice. So excited to follow up with that. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your Friday. I wish you guys nothing but the best. And hopefully you're ready to join our team. I would love to kick off the new year with you all starting Monday. And that's going to be the second link in the description down below. Remember, it's 50% off. I'm never going to offer a larger discount than this. You either want to join or you don't. I'm not here to convince you, right? But if it's something that you value, if it's something that you want access to, it's 50% off, which is $250 off. And you get to watch me trade live every day. So in my opinion, it's a small price to pay for a lot of the mistakes you're going to avoid if you take it seriously. And on top of that, you get access to these live sessions as well. So I appreciate your time. Hope that earned a thumbs up. If you have any questions, message me on Instagram or on Discord, and it's all linked in the description down below. So again, all in the description down below. Feel free to check it out. Appreciate your time. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. And dude, it just sold off another $1. Look at this. It sold off another freaking $1. Wow, wow, wow. A great day to be a bear. Take care, team. Happy New Year's. Be safe.